Well, hello there, ladies, gentlemen, non-binary folk, trans folk, and wherever you stand on this beautifully diverse and expansive spectrum. You already know what kind of channel this is, so if you don't like it, you can right off. My name is Darla, but you can call me AD. It's gearing up to be a very hot and humid, insecure boy summer here in beautiful Montreal, Canada. Insecure boy disease plaguing our species has reached epidemic proportions and finally exposed itself as nothing more than phallic, mind control, utter shit, but most importantly, a well-documented pattern of behavior that is evolving right under our noses. First, we had Keke Palmer's baby daddy publicly trying to police the mother of his child for how she presented herself whilst in the presence of other men via shaming and humiliation tactics. Rest assured, this symptom is well known and already part of the Insecure Boy Diagnostic Manual. Next, we have alleged text messages sent by Jonah Hill that also exhibit this very same symptom with a combination of another symptom, which is described as the uncontrollable urge to police, limit, control, and or eliminate altogether a woman's relationship with the opposite sex. The stated function of this symptom is to convince women that they don't need relationships with other men if they have a man. For working women like Jonah Hill's ex-girlfriend Sarah Brady and Darius Jackson's ex-girlfriend Keke Palmer, this symptom is particularly problematic because we still live in a world where promotions, contracts, funding, and anything that can guarantee women financial independence, autonomy, and upward mobility largely lies in the hands of her nurturing relationships with whomst? Men. Thankfully, this symptom is also well known and already part of the Insecure Boy Diagnostic Manual. We were prepared. Always remember, if most people, especially cis men, were single and could afford it, they'd be paying an assistant, agent, publicist, cleaning lady, house manager, private chef, babysitter, sex worker, and chauffeur to do the work they'd expect you to do for free. So if on top of that, they try to police your relationships and thereby limit your earning potential, the very least you should expect in return is a contract that stipulates you get 50% everything. Whilst the science of the insecure boy disease moves fast, the patriarchy company moves faster. Jonah Hill's alleged text messages unveil a brand new symptom, outlining a series of unreasonable, prejudicial, and straight-up psychotic demands on a partner in order to feel more secure under the guise of respecting boundaries. Thanks to the good scientists of the internet, we have now identified this symptom, and it's called therapy speak. However, the epidemic is a fluid dynamic. Currently, it's experiencing some important changes. As of late, the disease's infected agents and many pick-me enablers are engaged in an all-out strategic offense to try and distract your attention away from the slip-up and get back on top. And now, in a pretty hilarious turn of allegation events, Jonah Hill's PR team is being accused of allegedly buying bots in order to artificially manufacture support for the actor in what would be known, if this is true, as the saddest astroturfing campaign of all time. But it's just an allegation. It has not been proven. I'm here to tell you, don't fall for the diversion tactic. If we stay focused, recent events could not only point us in the direction of a long-standing theory of origin for the epidemic scientists have been studying, but also a cure to the disease. This is the theory. The insecure boy, TM, scientific community has long posited that this epidemic infecting young men like Darius Jackson and allegedly Jonah Hill was created in a lab somewhere. Donald Trump would say China, by a corporate entity called the patriarchy, because the patriarchy is inherently insecure. The logic being, if the patriarchy as a corporation was secure, it wouldn't need to rely on tactics such as brute force, coercion, manipulation, intimidation, control, and suppression in order to maintain its supremacy. It would be able to do it off of merit alone. As a result, the theoretical scientific positation is that the patriarchy has a vested interest in the reproduction and continued epidemical root factor multiplication of insecure men. It created the mother virus because it wants you, it needs you to be sick. And it also needs you to enable each other to act in sick ways. Can you believe it? So I'm here to tell you, it's time to fight the system. fight the system. Yeah! Stop falling for the mind control. Be bold, be brave, be secure. Recognize the greatness in yourself so you can have the cojones to recognize it, value it, and not be intimidated when you see it in others, notably women, and anybody who identifies or presents themselves as such. So, here's a breakdown of what happened. Hi. I regret to inform you that the disease rays were too strong for my insecure boy repellent mechanisms today. So I had no choice but to bring the party inside. So excuse me while I just change into a hot new outfit real quick. Transition. Keke Palmer is an American actress, singer, and television host. She's known for films like Barbershop 2, Back in Business, Akeelah and the Bee, The Long Shot, Noise, and Hustlers. If you don't know Keke Palmer, what you need to know is that Keke is the damn wave, okay? Keke is popping, okay? People love her. She's got status. She's successful. She's well liked. She's got money. And she's barely even scratched the surface of her potential, honestly. Like, the sky's the limit for Keke Palmer. But what you also need to know is that Keke Palmer was in a relationship with a man called Darius Jackson. They were in a relationship and they had a baby. Darius Jackson is a fitness trainer, model, and aspiring broadcast host, I believe. While I won't go as far as calling him a scrub because he was employed, okay? Maybe just not gainfully employed, but he was employed. One thing is for sure, Darius was not as successful in his field as Keke was and is in her field, okay? Which is an important part of the conversation, the discourse happening on the internet. It's an important part of the backlash as well, but it's important information to keep in mind. So on the 4th of July, I think it's the 4th of July. If it's not the 4th of July, I'll just correct the date on the screen. Keke Palmer hits up Usher's concert in Las Vegas. Usher currently has a residency in Las Vegas. It's a really big deal. There's a ton of hype around it. And it's a destination concert. People are traveling to Las Vegas to see Usher in concert right now. Okay. So Keke, a whole ass, autonomous ass, grown ass woman, decides to wear something that makes her feel good in her body. Why this is relevant is because Keke just had a child with Darius. And as we know, having a baby changes your body. In Keke's case, it was for the best because she looks banging, okay? So she wears a sheer dress with a black bodysuit underneath. At the concert, Usher spots her in the crowd and decides to serenade her. Keke sings with him. She hits notes like I never even knew existed. And overall, she shines bright like a diamond. So it's a really positive moment that makes its way onto social media, which should be a net positive for someone like Keke Palmer. Because someone like Keke Palmer's entire livelihood is, well, a big part of her livelihood is dependent on her staying relevant, okay? And producing and being part of social media moments is a big part of that. But when Dusty Darius gets wind of the moment, instead of being happy for her, the insecure boy disease senses a potential threat to the system and it flares up. Darius tweets, "It's the outfit though. You a mom." At which point, the good people of the internet who've been studying the insecure boy disease manual were like, what about the outfit? Care to expose yourself as an op now or later? But virus would overcome reason and take control again. Darius tweets again, "We live in a generation where a man of the family doesn't want the wife and mother of his kids to showcase booty cheeks to please others, and he gets told how much of a hater he is. This is my family and my representation. I have standards and morals to what I believe. I rest my case. Luckily, those well-versed in the inner workings of the Insecure Boy Disease Manual were very well equipped to pick this whole mind-controlled nonsense apart, okay? Policing the way a woman presents herself in public looked into the man's past and current digital footprint medical history, which ironically displayed actions hypocritically opposite to that, and the consensus would be, yup, he's infected. And then his positive status would proceed to be exposed to the masses. As a result, Dusty Darius would be run off the internet and forced into social media quarantine for an indefinite period of time. In response, Keke would not make a formal statement, but Keke sure as hell made a statement. She clapped back by posting pictures of herself of that night, captioning, "I wish I had taken more pictures. Kiss, kiss." She would also post a cheeky little TikTok video where she does some kind of viral dance to a song that reminds anybody who would like to listen, "You ain't stopping what's going on with me, sweetheart. So if you're about to act up, I'm about to link up." And then she proceeds to drop "I'm a mother" merch and Stevie to the You'll understand the Stevie reference later. And while I tend to criticize people like Tory Lanez who move to capitalize off a scandal in order to make a quick buck, when you're the victim of the crime and not the perpetrator, as Keke was in this case, I think it's completely acceptable and actually smart as hell, okay? If someone tries to with your bag, go off and make sure you do whatever you need to do in order for it to remain secure. In the meanwhile, Dusty Darius just kept taking L's from there. Forensic internet evidence would resurface from 2021 of an ex-girlfriend who made allegations that he had gotten her pregnant, pressed her to have an abortion, and then 3 weeks later was all booed up with Keke Palmer. Screenshots would leak of Darius allegedly messaging women on Instagram and offering to fly them out on what the Insecure Boy Disease scientific community assumed could only be Keke's dime. And of course, a bunch of problematic tweets would be unearthed, okay? In other words, you can play on the internet, but the internet isn't going to play with you. The conversation this internet scandal sparked is one that I am personally thrilled we can finally have, even though the Patriarchy Corporation and its agents are currently engaged in a diversion play to make sure you don't understand it or focus on the wrong thing. So allow me to break it down for you. On one hand, the conversation this sparked is one around misogyny and just how sexist this type of rhetoric and its accompanying behavior is. Okay, what Dusty Darius did with his tweets is try to shame and humiliate his girlfriend for how she presented herself in public and whilst in the presence of other men, and inadvertently blamed her for how other men, notably Usher, reacted to her presence. This is particularly problematic because it's the very kind of rhetoric and logic that applies to dangerous shit like victim blaming and our culture, okay? Like, why would Darius be mad at Keke for being approached by Usher when Usher was the one doing the approaching? This reaction implies that women, aka Keke, are responsible for managing the reactions and desires of others. The policing of how women present themselves publicly is often rooted in the protector or protection argument. But the Insecure Boy Disease scientific community already debunked that, and it's not a fair deal. It requires women, once again, to do all the heavy lifting by taking on the responsibility of protecting themselves from men, when all men need to do to protect us, if that's what they want to do, is the bare minimum. Act less stalkerish, murderous, predatory, and learn how to control dick. It's really not that complicated. And it also exposed how this rhetoric and logic often hides itself under the guise of traditional family values, but only when it suits the tyrant's agenda, right? Dusty Darius had no problem getting Keke Palmer pregnant outside of wedlock. But now, when she does something he doesn't like, it goes against traditional family values. And another part of what this conversation brought up is one around a common problem that women face when mating up, okay? While women have been socialized and raised to be comfortable and actually to be emboldened and empowered in the act of mating up and being a supporting character in someone else's show, right? Letting someone else lead. Men traditionally haven't been given those same tools. What's interesting is that Keke, around the time that she met Darius Jackson, reportedly was actively looking to date just a regular guy. She didn't want to date anybody in the industry because she didn't want to expose herself to some of the pitfalls that's accompanied with that, which is, someone trying to compete with you or hijack your brand, take advantage of you, whatever. So she dated down, which isn't a problem in and of itself, but it's a problem when the person who is like the lower status mate doesn't have the tools to handle it and can't handle it. And another key component to this conversation, right, a conversation that a lot of people are having online right now, is that what happened to Keke Palmer is a representation of what a lot of women or some women face when mating down. Notably, that some men aren't equipped and raised or socialized, however you want to put it, to be able to handle this type of gender role reversal in a healthy way, and will sometimes resort to dragging your ass down in order to raise themselves up. So instead of working on their own self-esteem and working to meet you at your level of greatness, they will try to sabotage you instead. But back to the policing of how women present themselves in public, forensic internet DNA evidence would also later reveal that Dusty Darius had no problem flaunting Keke's almost naked body, but only whilst under his supervision. This kind of behavior also implies that women are somehow public or private property, assets to be mined, managed, and extensions of their male guardians, implying that men have some kind of right, earned I'm not too sure how, through cheating and shady tactics, to dictate to us what we're allowed to wear, how we're allowed to live our lives, what we're allowed to think, and how we should literally exist in the world, which of course is textbook insecure boy disease, because magically the insidious effect of all that is diminishing women's autonomy and reinforcing patriarchal power dynamics. Okay? It does nothing but help to maintain a world where insecure men get to be crowned our leaders, in part by avoiding having to find themselves in positions where they have to compete and earn that privilege fair and square. If you want to talk about domination, because that's what it is that it's a privilege that involves trust and that needs to be earned. But most importantly, consented to by all parties involved. So a big part of the backlash here is that we of the internet are telling you that there's a pattern of shoving, pressuring, coercing, manipulating the power dynamic down our throats. And it needs to stop. Okay? As Jack White said, this isn't up for debate nor discussion. This is literally just me making a statement. Cut the Which brings me to Jonah Hill. Thanks to Jonah Hill's alleged slip-up, the insecure boy scientific community has now been able to identify and expose a brand new symptom: weaponized therapy speak. Here's what went down. On Saturday, the 8th of July, 2023, a law student, model, and professional surfer called Sarah Brady accused actor and director Jonah Hill of emotional abuse. She also accused him of being a misogynist. These are the allegations. Sarah Brady's occupations will be particularly important to this story. It will be important not just because of the nature of the allegations she's made, but also because of the type of fandom and brand Jonah Hill has cultivated for himself over the years, and how all of that relates to a concept called extraction of value, and how we see value when it comes from one type of person, but diminish it, ignore it, fail to compensate it, like when it comes from another. We'll get to that. I mean, work really hard to try and compensate it as little as possible, unless there's a fight. I'm making broad generalizations, but you don't be dumb, okay? Don't be stupid. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Jonah Hill and Sarah Brady were in a relationship for about a year, in the time frame which includes the year 2021 and 2022. The couple famously made their red carpet debut at the NYC premiere of Don't Look Up. Currently, Jonah Hill is in a relationship and has welcomed a child, his first child, with another woman. You may be wondering why Sarah Brady came out with the allegations now. Sarah Brady claims that she waited for Jonah Hill's now girlfriend to deliver the baby as she didn't want to cause her any unnecessary stress during the pregnancy. This is what she claims. So, in order to back up the allegations, Sarah Brady over the weekend of July the 8th and July the 9th, again, dates are not my strong suit. Okay, so always look at the notes on screen. On this weekend, Sarah Brady would leak some private text messages allegedly sent by Jonah Hill to her. Jonah Hill has yet to come forward and confirm or deny the authenticity of these text messages. Regardless, the content of these text messages kickstarted a internet shiza storm. Okay? Shitstorm. I'm going to run you through the content of the text messages people are taking issue with. These text messages were allegedly sent between October 2021 and August 2022. I'm not going to read them all. I'm going to show you the ones on screen I'm talking about and summarize what the grievances the good people of the internet are having with them. If you would like or are interested in reading the full text message transcripts that were leaked, I'm going to drop a link to an article that compiled all of them in the comment section below. Okay, let me get the notepad. Talking about insecure boys will really dehydrate you, so make sure to stay hydrated. I'm going to a rave tomorrow night. I'm really excited. I feel like I needed a good after hours rave. I needed some techno in my system to, dance off all the insecure boy diseased vibes. So first, there are text messages that allude to an alleged recurrent problem in Jonah Hill and Sarah Brady's relationship. Notably, the possible fact that social surfing makes Jonah uncomfortable because Sarah engages with individuals or ends up attracting the attention of individuals of the opposite sex. I mean, is there a more inclusive way of saying this? Please, I don't want anybody to feel excluded. If there's a better way of saying that, please let me know. I will gladly modify my vocabulary to make sure other people feel comfortable because it's not that hard. Okay, so people are taking issue with this set of text messages because, again, it places the burden on Sarah to try to manage the attention of others, aka men. And the text messages also allude to Jonah Hill allegedly trying to police all this under the rhetorical guise of it being a necessary sacrifice to meet the wifedom criteria. Then we have text messages that allegedly show Jonah Hill trying to police how Sarah Brady was allowed to present herself in public based on what she was wearing. She shares text messages of him allegedly going through her Instagram pictures and either giving it a 10 or a chop. He's like, this yes, that no. This yes, that no. Definitely would be okay if your ass wasn't in a thong, though. This would also be the first time the new symptom presents itself, right? The use of the word boundary, but we'd only truly understand its functional role as part of the insecure boy disease in this next set of text messages. In this next set of text messages, allegedly sent by Jonah Hill, the actor would outline a list of demands and rules placed on Sarah Brady in order to have a relationship with him. Basically, he outlines a code of conduct. This code of conduct would do the same thing that common symptoms of the insecure boy disease tends to do, aka police women's relationship with members of the opposite sex and how she is allowed to present herself in public. Only now, he used a new concept to justify its necessity, and it wasn't wifedom, it was boundaries. At which point, scientists were able to identify a new mutation of the disease, which now includes the symptom, weaponizing language commonly used in psychology settings to try and fulfill the patriarchy corporation's agenda. You've been warned. And finally, there's also a set of text messages where Jonah Hill allegedly devalues some of what Sarah Brady does for a living, notably modeling and surfing in a bikini with men, but gives value to other things. Law school. Go model. It's a real fulfilling life, real depth and substance, he said. But I don't want you to bail on law school because that's important. I don't know if the internet took issue with this, but I will. Okay? This places Jonah Hill as the arbiter of what's valuable and important in a whole ass other person's life and existence. One of my problems with this is that the arbitrage often comes in the form of an arbitrary list of things the goalpost is always moving that will somehow get in the way of more important things as predetermined by the patriarchy corporation, like pumping out babies and being a wife. And that symptom right there, trying to get women to abandon threatening parts of their identities to make the insecure patriarchy corporation more secure, is textbook insecure boy disease. You've been warned again. Now, there's been a lot of hyper focus on the internet on how Sarah Brady has been behaving and what she's been doing, saying, or reposting on social media in the time leading up to and after the alleged text messages were leaked. Okay, the tides of the discourse are changing, and it's currently not in Sarah Brady's favor. The point I'm about to make right now is the same one I made in my deep dive about Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez case and how the media played a role in swaying the public against Megan Thee Stallion. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Highly recommend it. Listen to me clearly. Well, I won't tell you what to do with your life, but listen to the words coming out of my mouth. How a woman chooses to live her life and whether or not she continues to talk about the allegations after the fact, while it may change your opinion of her and how you interpret her intentions, it does not change the allegations being made. And the allegations being made here are that if these text messages are real, the nature of the content of those text messages are unambiguously misogynistic. How Sarah Brady chooses to behave and exist in the world doesn't change that. Focusing on anything else Sarah is doing or saying at this moment or moving forward, unless it directly changes the content of those text messages, is diminishing the allegations and quite simply refusing to deal with the alleged facts under the guise of context, or just because you're a hater under the guise of context, but most likely self-preservation. We see right through you. What do you think? We don't understand how the world works? If these text messages are real, what pisses people off is that they are a window into a larger pattern of behavior exhibited by infected men that we, the scientists of the insecure boy disease community, are telling you exists. This pattern being that insecure boy diseased individuals and their agents think it's totally acceptable to police how women present themselves in public, who she has relationships with, and now are using the power of therapy terms to exert their control on women in their inherently insecure mission of continued phallic supremacy. And the backlash here is that we are telling you that we see right through your play. It's shady, and if life's a game, it's also cheating. Sarah Brady is a model, professional surfer, and aspiring lawyer. Like many working women in most industries, the individuals who would be in a position to employ her, promote her, sign her, sponsor her, book her, fund her, invest in her will most likely be whomst? Men. The continued financial independence of most women with careers quite literally rides off the back of them maintaining and nurturing relationships with men. If money is one of the only things that helps get people power in this world, funny how these boundaries almost always have per consequence of taking control of and or blocking entirely a woman's ability to secure the bag, which brings me to the concept of extraction of value. So a lot of people on the internet have been hyper focusing on the possibility that Sarah Brady may have received some kind of financial support from Jonah Hill, that she may have benefited from the relationship financially. This is because in some of the content found in their alleged text message exchanges, Jonah Hill alludes to helping her out financially. More precisely, they allegedly talk about how he was helping her pay for her therapy sessions. Jonah Hill also allegedly expresses how he felt used by Sarah, used for his money and used for his fame. What's interesting is that Sarah allegedly tells Jonah that she feels used too. She talks about how the relationship allegedly set her back financially, as she had to turn down many career opportunities, we assume, to accommodate the relationship. She talks about how the relationship allegedly drained her emotionally. I don't think that needs to be allegedly. I think that's just a thing that happens in relationships. She talks about how the relationship drained her emotionally and allegedly left her in an overall worse place than where she was prior. She talks about how rebuilding what she left on the table will take some time. We don't know if this is true or not, but I did think the implied implication was interesting, because if it is true, it reveals another pattern survivors of insecure boy diseased partners are trying to sound the alarm on. Okay, it's a pattern that often sees us getting the short end of the stick. Okay, while it may be true that Sarah Brady benefited somehow financially from Jonah during the relationship, I think it's also important to acknowledge what kind of value Jonah Hill may have extracted out of dating a girl like Sarah Brady. As I mentioned before, Sarah Brady is unquestionably hot. I didn't mention that before, but she is hot. Okay, but what she also is a professional surfer. Unlike Jonah Hill, who only picked up surfing, I think sometime in 2019, Sarah Brady has been surfing her entire life. This is relevant to Jonah Hill's brand because Jonah Hill is synonymous with youth culture and more specifically, underground youth culture. The brand and type of fandom that Jonah Hill has cultivated over the years is, yes, as a result of the movies he's made and starred in, but also thanks to the popularity he gained in streetwear and skateboarding subcultures. This is no small achievement, as these are subcultures that traditionally would reject everything about a privileged, Nepo baby adjacent person like Jonah Hill. Yet today, the Jonah Hill brand has the same kind of niche popularity that typically resonates with the rebels, the misfits, the outcasts, and the underdogs of our world. This very niche kind of popularity is one that he is actively in the process of capitalizing on via projects like his satirical streetwear brand called Meaningful Existence. Yes, this is the same brand that is currently selling t-shirts with the words emotional baggage and complete unrelenting control on them. As someone who knows a thing or two about subcultures, the fascinating thing about subcultures is that while you can draw parallels between them, typically credibility in them doesn't overlap. Being a skater doesn't automatically give you street cred in streetwear, and being popular in streetwear circles doesn't give you credibility as a skater, okay? Your credibility and popularity tends to need to be established in its own right and built from scratch. So, from a marketing perspective, if you're trying to cover all your bases, one of the subcultures Jonah was missing in terms of untapped potential to scale his brand was surf culture. It should be obvious to anybody into branding that dating a girl like Sarah could help facilitate him conquering new territory and solidify this new territory as part of the Jonah Hill brand. Plainly, dating a hot professional surfer chick like Sarah, on top of providing him with things like emotional support, was indubitably good for Jonah Hill's business and good for Jonah Hill's brand. Until now. I'm not Jonah Hill's accountant and I don't have access to his books, but I would be willing to bet that if you looked hard enough, that specific kind of extraction of value could be quantified. And if, for whatever reason, it can't be quantified with numbers, it most definitely can be qualified with the following sentence: elevating a mid guy like Jonah Hill to being the man status, okay? Which would be okay and not a sign of infection if the extraction value also didn't always follow the same pattern. The minute an insecure boy diseased man, like Drake, for example, I made a whole video about that, bags the woman everyone desires. In Drake's case, it's the bad girl. He will almost always attempt to drag her ass down and step in between the very identity he was able to extract value from on his journey to elevate himself as the man, okay? This is why scientists would like you to know that this is textbook insecure boy disease, a definitive sign of infection. The function of this symptom is characterized in the IBDMV as the nullification of a threat to the patriarchy corporation via the renegation of women to a position of diminished economic power and personal autonomy. And so the insecure boy scientific community would like to communicate through me, A.D. Jennings, that the moral of this story is get money. Bitches, get money. Fuck bitches, get money. Bitches, get money. Bitch, get money. You wanna sit more on my living room floor, play Nintendo with Caesar Leo. Pick up my phone, say mama not home. All night, mad head in the morn. Spin my V, smoke on my weed. Tattoo on TT saying big AD. Now check it. You wanna be my main squeeze, baby? Don't ya? You wanna give me what I need, baby? Why won't ya? Don't let anybody with your bag. Anybody whose presence in your life, behavior towards you, and expectations of you has per effect to get in the way of you securing the bag is someone who's not an ally, but an op, and most definitely infected with the disease, okay? So if you decide to be stupid enough to sacrifice shit in order to secure the insecure, at least be smart enough to whip out the contract, give them a pen, and make sure they sign the dotted line right next to the clause that says you get 50% of everything.